Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. As the title of this video might have already given away, this week I thought I would just be very lazy and go to Goodreads to react to some reviews. Namely, the reviews to to a book I've rated 5 stars about a year ago, namely Mouse by Art Spiegelman. I have the reviews right in front of me here on Goodreads, and I've looked a bit ahead to make sure it's not just full of Nazis. Make sure that there are actually people that have some legitimate criticisms, and I thought I would read through them for uh, for this week's video, given it's been about a year that I reviewed a book. I'm putting 15 seconds on the clock, and okay, let's start reading through them. Okay, first one from okay, this is not the first one. This is the first English one. There are some Spanish ones before that. First one from Lisa. DNF, July 2014. I did not like the artwork at all. It was pretty distracting, too cluttered and unclear. It took away from the text and the story. Okay, you can say that. I pretty much disagree because I think every element that was featured in the panels actually made sense. It expanded the setting. It showcased who these characters are, and what kind of environment they found themselves in. So I disagree. Pretentious, racist garbage, says Ned Loa. Okay, that's loaded. And let's see. As I see, it's perfectly okay to call Poles pigs, portray them as brutal idiots. Not true. Keep in mind the offer has Polish roots. The main character is actually Polish Jew, so it's not that simplistic. It is anyway, moving ahead, and be happy about civil houses of civil German families being destroyed. That is, where did you see that in a book, really, Ned? But slight dissatisfaction with black people is Lamau racism. Okay, seriously calling it Lamau racism? You really want me to? Yeah, you don't want to be taken seriously, do you, Ned? And it meets with staggering rant from the author. Well, yeah, there's a point to it. Anyway, not even complaining about this annoying relationship between author and his father. Yeah, that's you're really complaining about the point of this book, really, Ned. Neuroticism of the narrator places him high on the list of most unreliable narrators. He's not the unreliable narrator here. His dad is. You really weren't reading this book, like, at all. There are some shocking or heartfelt images, but the premise itself is highly disturbing. Of course it is! It's the fucking Holocaust, you... Especially as it may be the first meeting of stupid American children with the history of Holocaust. Okay, seriously? You really wanna... You're the one complaining about racism and then calling all American kids stupid? Ignore... If you see Ned Loha, or whatever, on Goodreads ever again, just know he's full of shit. Next up, a parody account of Donald Trump, ignoring that. Next on from Halo. Again, these are all 1-star reviews of Mouse. I won't even bother rating, and yet you gave it 1 star. I will be in the minority of the people who dislike this graphic novel. Needless to say, I truly didn't like it. It starts very weird and goes awfully. I read the first part and half of the second. Okay, you didn't make any points. Moving on. Next one from Allison. It seems to be her and her husband in her profile pic. I was introduced to Mouse about 10 years ago when one of my teachers thought it would be a great way to teach us about the Holocaust. That's a way, perhaps not the best, but it is. But I wouldn't call it inappropriate. I thought it was an interesting concept, and it does and does do a great job showing how vicious the Nazis were. That's one of the main points of the book. Why are you only giving it 1 star if it did a great job there? With that being said, I hated the characters. Art is so pretentious and full of survivor's guilt that I can't stomach it. I'm starting to think you didn't actually read the book, but go on. Masha is a fool to put up with her husband's abuse, and you could argue whether or not that counts as abuse, but assuming it is, there is a point to it. There's a point to why she puts up with it, not to the abuse itself. And it's hard to feel sorry for Art's father when we see the way he treats those around him. Well, yeah, that is the point, to showcase that his father was a complex person, not entirely good, but not entirely good, but not beyond redemption either. That is arguably one of the points of the story, to humanize the victims of the Holocaust. Don't display all of them as just innocent, poor, put upon people. I hated the depictions of the different nationalities. Did we really have to make the French into frogs? What would you have suggested instead, Alison? And the Polish people into pigs, which is only one of the biggest insults in Polish culture? That is... Anyway, moving ahead. I get that there were some people in France and Poland that were racist and did want the Nazis to occupy their countries, but there were also brave resistance fighters, and they were shown. They were shown. Even as frogs or pigs, they did also oppose the Nazis, and that is shown. Like, I don't get her point here. It is a slap in the face to those who gave their lives fighting the Nazis when Spiegelman stereotypes and depicts the French and Polish as Jew haters. He doesn't. One of the people who, spoiler, one of the people alongside whom Art's father escapes is a French guy, and he actually expresses his full support when it comes to, when it comes to their endeavors. As for the Polish, I have to say my memory on that is a little bit fuzzy. Not every non-Jew was lurking in the shadows selling out their Jewish neighbors. Not all, but enough of them for the Jews to actually worry about that. That's the point. Mouse could have been so much better than it turned out to be if Spiegelman had left his hang-ups at the door and just written about his father. His hang-ups are the point. This book is about generational trauma. This book is about how the injustice and the indemnities that people cause to each other get passed on to the future generations. There's a whole reason that the comic Art made when his mother killed herself was included here, because it is meant to showcase the complexity of the survivor's state of mind, and how their state of mind, the scars that these events leave on their minds, impact their descendants as well. How did you miss that? How did you miss that, Allison? Anyway, next up, by Ryan Crampton. Mouse is one of those graphic novels that people who don't read graphic novels will tell you is a good graphic novel. Pretty repetitive, but kind of a funny sentence. While not terrible, you still gave it a 1 star. Why are you calling it not terrible? It still manages to be a horrendously depressing bullshit that failed miserably to garner any kind of emotional response from myself. Well, then just say it's not from you. And just say it's not for you. And don't give it 1 star, give it 2. Seriously, Ryan? Anyway, next up, Jennifer. I'm definitely in the minority, but I really dislike this book. The style just really, really irritated me. I enjoyed Persepolis, so I'm not against graphic novels per se. That doesn't mean anything. But I'm generally not a fan of any kind of animated works. Shoot me if you wish. Another review that means absolutely nothing. Next up, AV. I had to read this book for school, but it took so much effort to finish it. This book was not my thing, I didn't like it. Well, at least you were honest. Still don't think it was worth, giving it a star, but whatever. Oh, 1 star. Okay, next page. 1 in Dutch, I'm skipping over it. This book is one from Der Grossest. This guy is most likely a Nazi. He has, first of all, he has a German name, and he has a picture of Frederick the Great. But let's assume he's not, and move ahead. This book is awful in so many ways, which I will list in ascending order of awfulness. First, and granted that this is my personal opinion, the artwork is done in a horribly primitive, poor man's Japanese woodblock sort of way. You don't know how Art Spiegelman worked. What makes you say that? I believe it is absolutely unforgivable for a graphic novel to have bad graphics. They're not bad graphics. They are appropriate to the subject matter. And if you actually look at the composition and the presentation, the flow of the events presented, you'll see that it is actually good. It is easy enough to follow, and it does present its points correctly. That's not a thing. Second, Jews are unfairly portrayed as mice, while Germans are portrayed as cats. Okay, this is the part where I'm starting to worry. Forgetting the fact that being compared to a rodent is automatically insulting, it's a Jewish author talking about Jewish history. There is really not much you can do to really call it insulting. Also, by the point that Art Spiegelman wrote or created Mouse, Mickey Mouse was already like a freaking household name. Also, Tom and Jerry has been on here for decades, so there's really no way you can say mouse automatically. It's disgusting. Portraying Jews as somehow constitutionally and physically inferior to Germans is completely degrading and unfair. That is... Moving ahead. No matter how big and strong you are, nothing is going to adequately prepare you to resist a modern police state run by Nazis. And you think the story would have been more appropriate if it was the other way around, Mr. Der Grossest? Anyway, third, the protagonist, who is the author's father, is portrayed as displaying the worst Jewish stereotypes even before he is subject to the full fury of the degradations he suffered in the camps. Yeah, okay, that was something I have to say I kind of was displeased with. The fact that he had some Jewish stereotypes to him. But then again, we're talking about Poland in the 30s. It's not like he really had much of a choice. Everything within his environment would have pretty much pushed him into that condition. Next up, making such an unlikable character many people's first and perhaps only in-depth examination of a Jewish person is, again, completely unfair and counterproductive, since it seems to reinforce various anti-Semitic tropes. A whole lot of entertainment is actually created by Jews, so it's very unlikely that this is the only depiction of a Jewish person that that anybody would see. Not just around the world, but also in the U.S. specifically. Hollywood is somewhat notorious for that. Anyway, moving ahead. Fourth, the story of the protagonist and his survival of the Holocaust is constantly undermined by the author's own story and his personal demons. It's not undermined, it's emphasized. Anyway, this is sadly pathetic, as the author shares the difficulties of growing up with a mother shattered by the camps and a father who is perhaps the most unlikable person in the world. Again, this is the point. The point is generational trauma. The point is how trauma gets spread to the next generation, and that is how it happens to translate. This is what honesty looks like. Der Grossest, you dumbass. While this was perhaps a cathartic exercise for the author, it wasn't, and he actually goes into detail as to how unpleasant it was within the novel. It unnecessarily detracts from the story and the horrors of the Holocaust. It adds to them. Because it showcases their effects in full. Finally, and this is not of the fault of the author or the book, then why include it in your review? This book is too frequently misused as the only literary work exposing high school students to the Holocaust. It is not. First of all, there are history books. Second of all, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. is also something that is at least semi-frequently explored. Also, the Diary of Anne Frank, like, really, if this is the only story that you've been that you've been shown to that talks about the Holocaust, that's a you problem. That's not. And anyway, as you said it yourself, it's not connected to the book, so it has no bearing on its quality. It does not belong in a review. Anyway, next up by Federica Colombo, and I'm running short on time, so it might be my last review. No, it's in Italian. Okay, this is odd. There's a 1-star review that is very positive. I think someone wanted to troll the Nazis, namely Wilbur. I really like this book because it talks about the experience of the author's father about the Holocaust. Well, that doesn't really say much. It just, it's just the actual premise. It was a good book because it talks about how his father survived the Holocaust and how he managed to do so. Wilbur has a very. I started, so I'll finish. Wilbur doesn't really seem to have a strong grasp on the English language if these are the sentences he constructs. I like how the author made each race religion into different animals because it shows how they seem to be alike. Okay, yeah, definitely not. Okay, and in the start of the book it shows the father's backstory and seems like he is living a very normal life. The author does good when he puts conversations between him and his father. You said nothing, Wilbur. Okay, let's see, another one, something short. From Alina. I didn't like this book at all. You might like it if you like graphic novels. Eric would disagree, Eric Frampton. Or was it Rick Frampton? Rick Frampton, I guess. But I thought it was really hard to read because of the pictures. A normal 400-page book takes me 2 days to read, but this 150-page book took 4 days for me to finish. And that is why you gave it 1 star? I swear some people. Yeah, no wonder the Goodreads awards are as full of shit as they are. But that's beside the point. That was my video. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please leave a like, maybe even share this video wherever you think other people will like it as well. If you have anything you'd like to add to the video, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My own book, Heir to the Empire Next Generation, is available at most major book retailers under the master link in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out should you choose to. I also have a Patreon in case you want to support me more directly. Until next time, I am Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.